PR orders erupt worldwide. Did band Si-hyuk calculate the financial shock before BTS comeback? Is this really just a magazine release? Or is it the quietest, most dangerous market test the global music industry has seen in years? When pre-orders began to spike across continents within hours, when fans started calculating shipping costs faster than chart projections, and when 9 different covers suddenly felt less like editorial choice and more like a strategic puzzle, one question refused to disappear. Was this moment already modeled, simulated, and approved long before the first fan clicked buy? And if so, what exactly is being measured? Excitement, loyalty, or the raw spending power of a global fandom preparing for a historic return? Seoul, December 19, 2025. The announcement seemed simple on the surface. Jungkook would be the cover star of the January 2026 issue of Si-hyuk Korea. But within minutes, simplicity collapsed. The campaign title alone, Jungkook Takes Over, felt less like fashion marketing and more like a declaration. Screens across Gangnam lit up. The HLL building on Dosendero 150 became a billboard-sized statement of intent. White, minimalist backgrounds, a single name in bold type, and underneath it all, the unmistakable emotional pull of Yes or No, a track from Jungkook's solo album Golden, echoing through social feeds as if to underline the question fans were already asking themselves. Yes or no, is this just a magazine or something else entirely? The numbers began whispering before anyone said them out loud. Pre-orders opened with prices hovering between $11 and $21 depending on the cover variant. Affordable enough to feel harmless. Strategic enough to invite repetition. 9 covers. 9 decisions. Or perhaps 9 invitations to buy more than one. Fans noticed immediately. Analysts noticed quietly. And somewhere behind closed doors, the name that kept surfacing in conversations wasn't the photographers or the stylists. It was Bang Si-hyuk, because Bang Si-hyuk does not do coincidence. Not at this scale. Not with this timing. For years, observers have described him as a producer who thinks like an economist, a storyteller who understands data as fluently as melody. And now, as BTS edges closer to a long-anticipated full-group comeback, fans are beginning to suspect that this Si-hyuk Korea phenomenon is not an isolated cultural moment. It feels like a probe, a test, a global stress test of ARMY's purchasing power before the real storm arrives. Why else release 9 variants at a price point low enough to encourage volume sales, but high enough to generate meaningful revenue at scale? Why else coordinate a takeover campaign that dominates physical space in Seoul and digital space worldwide simultaneously? And why now, when anticipation for BTS return is already vibrating just beneath the surface of the industry? The reaction was immediate and emotional. On Instagram, Si-hyuk Korea's stories racked up views at a speed that felt almost aggressive. Fans recorded their screens, slowed the footage, replayed the billboards frame by frame. On X, timelines flooded with screenshots, currency conversions, and the same question repeated in dozens of languages. Which cover are you getting? Or are you getting all of them? But behind the excitement, something more analytical began to surface. Fans started comparing this release to previous magazine collaborations. They noticed the difference in scale, in coordination, in the almost surgical precision of the rollout. This wasn't just about fashion. This was about momentum, about reminding the world, subtly but unmistakably, that Jungkook, and by extension BTS, still command immediate, measurable, global action. Jungkook himself, in a Si-hyuk Korea interview, spoke about music as an inseparable part of his life. He reflected on growth, on winter as both a season and a metaphor, on a career that continues to evolve even in moments of relative quiet. His words were calm, introspective, almost understated, and that contrast between his gentle tone and the explosive market response only amplified the sense that something bigger was unfolding beneath the surface. This was Jungkook's first major photo shoot since being announced as a global ambassador for Chanel Beauty, and the fashion world took note. Yet even fashion insiders seemed to acknowledge that the real story wasn't couture. It was consumption. How many units could move, how fast, and across how many borders. without a single live performance or album teaser attached. Within hours, online stores from Seoul to Southeast Asia to Europe began reporting rapid stock movement. Indonesian fans, long known for their purchasing enthusiasm, coordinated group orders to reduce shipping costs. North American fans debated whether international shipping delays were worth the wait. European fans calculated customs fees. And in all of this logistical chaos, one truth became unavoidable. ARMY was not hesitating. Isn't that exactly the kind of data you would want before launching a billion-dollar comeback? Industry veterans have long understood that album sales, while still crucial, no longer tell the full story. Engagement, repeat purchases, cross-category spending, and willingness to buy physical products in a digital age all matter. A 9-cover magazine release priced for accessibility becomes, in this context, a remarkably clean experiment. Each purchase is optional. Each additional cover is discretionary. And yet fans keep buying. What does it mean when a fandom willingly multiplies its spending on a non-music product tied to a single member? What does it suggest about the potential response to multiple album versions, concert ticket tiers, merchandise drops, and global tour packages once BTS officially returns? This is where Bang's Si-hyuk's reputation looms large. He has often spoken about long-term vision, about building systems rather than chasing moments. If this Yellow Korea campaign is indeed a test, it is a test designed to feel like a celebration. No pressure, no countdowns, just choice. And the results speak louder than any press release. Some fans resist this interpretation. They argue that Jungkook's appeal alone explains the frenzy. That 9 covers are simply a gift to collectors. That seeing his face dominate a Gangnam building is just a well-earned victory lap. And they are not wrong. Jungkook has earned every bit of attention he receives. His global influence is real, organic, and deeply emotional, but even organic phenomena can be measured. And measured phenomena can be used to plan. As pre-order numbers continue to climb, speculation intensifies. Is HYB watching which regions buy the most variants? Are they tracking price sensitivity? Are they observing how quickly enthusiasm translates into transactions? Fans joke about being studied, but the laughter carries an edge of awareness. In today's entertainment industry, fandom behavior is data. And ARMY generates data at a scale few others can match. The brilliance of this strategy, if it is indeed a strategy, lies in its subtlety. No one was told this was a test. No one was asked to prove loyalty. Fans simply responded as they always do, driven by affection, pride, and a desire to participate in a shared moment. And that authenticity makes the numbers far more valuable than any forced campaign could. Meanwhile, Jungkook's image continues to circulate, stripped of excess, framed by clean lines and confident stillness. The white background of the billboards feels symbolic in hindsight, a blank canvas onto which fans project anticipation, nostalgia, and hope for what comes next. The phrase "Jungkook takes over" reads differently now, not as domination, but as confirmation. Confirmation that even in a period without group promotions, BTS' gravitational pull remains intact. Confirmation that individual member activities can still mobilize millions. Confirmation that the market is not cooling, it is waiting, and waiting, as Bang Si-hyuk knows, can be more powerful than noise. As the January 2026 issue of Yellow Korea ships to homes around the world, arriving in padded envelopes and carefully opened on camera for unboxings, the emotional cycle will repeat itself. Smiles, gasps, quiet moments of connection between fan and image. And behind each of those moments, another data point quietly registers. When the first teaser for BTS comeback eventually drops, whenever that may be, will anyone really be surprised by the scale of the response? Or will we look back at this magazine release and realize that the answer was already there, hidden in plain sight, embedded in pre-order confirmations and sold-out notices? Was this just Jungkook on a magazine cover? Or was it a rehearsal for something far bigger? And perhaps the most unsettling question of all lingers unspoken, vibrating beneath the excitement and pride. If this is what happens when one member appears on 9 covers of a fashion magazine, what happens when all 7 return together? the silence after that question is almost louder than the campaign itself. Because everyone in the industry already knows the answer, yet no one wants to say it too plainly. When Seven return together, the market does not simply react. It rearranges itself. And that is precisely why this moment, this seemingly harmless explosion of magazine pre-orders, feels so charged with meaning. What is happening now is not random enthusiasm. It is structured anticipation. The kind that builds quietly, layer by layer, until it reaches a point where even a fashion magazine becomes a financial indicator. Observers inside and outside Korea are beginning to acknowledge that this Yellow Korea phenomenon is less about editorial prestige and more about behavioral confirmation. Confirmation that the emotional bond between artist and audience has not weakened. Confirmation that physical goods still matter in an era dominated by streaming. Confirmation that the global fan economy surrounding BTS remains uniquely resilient. The key detail that keeps resurfacing in conversations among analysts is not the total number of pre-orders. Those figures will take time to fully surface, but the speed and distribution. Orders did not spike in one region and trickle outward. They ignited almost simultaneously across Asia, North America, Europe, and parts of Latin America. That pattern matters. It suggests readiness, not impulse. A fandom already mentally prepared to spend, already emotionally aligned, already synchronized. This is where the shadow of Bang Si-hyuk becomes impossible to ignore. His career has been defined by reading patterns before they fully form, by trusting long arcs over short wins. He understands that the most valuable metric is not hype, but conversion, how quickly attention becomes action. In that sense, Jungkook's Yellow Korea takeover reads like a quiet rehearsal.
No countdown clocks.
No pressure language. Just availability, variety, and choice. And the response answered every unasked question. Fans themselves sense it. Across social media, comments oscillate between joy and self-awareness. "Why did I buy 3?" one fan asks jokingly. Another responds, "Because we're already in comeback mode." That phrase, comeback mode, appears again and again, as if the fandom has collectively flipped an internal switch. The magazine did not create that feeling. It revealed it. Jungkook's role in this cannot be overstated. His image, calm and controlled, projects a confidence that feels earned rather than performed. This is not the energy of someone asking for attention. It is the energy of someone who knows attention will arrive regardless. His reflections in the interview, particularly about music as a constant companion rather than a product, resonate deeply with fans who have followed his journey from debut to global stardom. That authenticity becomes a catalyst. People are not just buying paper and ink. They are buying proximity to a narrative that feels ongoing, and narratives, when handled correctly, are incredibly profitable. The pricing strategy adds another layer to the intrigue. $11 to $21 is not luxury pricing, yet it is not disposable either. It sits in a psychological sweet spot, accessible enough to encourage multiples, significant enough to feel meaningful. Multiply that by 9 variants by millions of fans, and suddenly the numbers stop being abstract. They become instructive. This is why some industry watchers are beginning to describe the campaign as soft measurement.
No servas. No announcements.
Just observation. Which covers sell fastest? Which regions reorder? How quickly stock replenishes? How fans coordinate purchases? All of this data feeds forward, informing decisions that will shape the next phase of BTS career. Because make no mistake, the next phase will be massive. A full group comeback after prolonged anticipation is not just a musical event. It is a logistical operation on a scale few acts can manage. Albums in multiple versions, merchandise waves, tour planning across continents, ticket pricing structures. Every choice carries risk, and risk is reduced when you understand your market with precision. What makes this moment emotionally complex for fans is that they are not being exploited, they are being trusted. Trusted to respond naturally, trusted to show up without being pushed, trusted to reveal, through their actions, how strong the connection still is. That trust deepens loyalty rather than eroding it. Fans feel seen, not used. And that distinction matters more than ever. As the weeks pass and the January 2026 issue circulates, conversations will inevitably shift. From "did you get your copy" to "what do you think comes next?" Speculation will intensify. Every HYB-related movement will be scrutinized. Every silence will feel intentional. And in hindsight, this magazine moment may come to be seen as the first domino, because once you see millions willingly mobilize for a non-essential item tied to a single member, it becomes impossible to underestimate what they will do for 7 standing side by side again.